Hi, I'm Barbara Howell, and this is my creation. A river runs through it because a river runs through it. And I'm going to start with the river itself. I do these fantasy landscapes, so I don't have to follow a rule that blue water is what you have. But another reason to have the water in it is, unlike a lot of my builds, this is kind of homogenized in color. Yes, I have different colors of purple and different plants, but everything is a little bit different, and I wanted people to really look at how the landscape changes a little bit. I wanted this to feel like a jungle that gets overgrown, but unless I had put the river in it, people wouldn't necessarily stick and watch. People don't know it, but that river forces them to watch, go along the whole line. And so that's just a kind of an eye movement trick that I get from my art background. If you've seen my work before, you know about my aliens. So I have a lot of aliens. And I made two different trees in here. I actually had a third tree that wasn't very stable. These don't look stable. They're just holding on to the viney things, but that's an extremely stable leaf method. The other one looked really good. It was like these tall cone things, but it fell apart every time I looked at it, so it didn't make it into this build.
With your work, stable is a very relative sort of term.
I suppose. But when you move things, you want them to stick together. And I'm actually surprised because I know in my last time I talked to you, I was talking about putting things through. Yeah. And on these pieces, when I was putting it together here, I'm like, I didn't put anything through. I'm like, well, that was stupid because they're falling apart. Like, do I listen to myself? No. So that's part of it. And it was hard with the purple because I love the purple, and I'm using the dark blue. But without the ambient light, you can't see it. So this is a piece that really works well under ambient light. But I made it specifically this time to look fantastic under black light. So the purple will disappear, and the leaves on the trees just transform. I know I talked before about putting the rods in it and ruined it. I put dark green inside them this time, and you don't see the rods, and they just become this soft, glowing tree that's just incredible. So using these again and making them work with black light was very exciting. And I have to admit that I use those pie pans with the blue. I don't know who I saw on one of the social medias doing something with those, but I liked it so much. I kind of emulated. I think they did it in like a coral reef, and they were coral pieces, but I made them into little bushes. And I'm going to show you this one. I call these my butterfly bushes because they're bushes made out of butterflies. And I put them onto those curly pieces that came in fringe sets. Once you put it onto this, you have to be committed to this piece forever because the wings won't come back off because the way that angles. But these pieces really frustrated me because the holes don't actually work with anything, and the diameter doesn't work with clips. Pretty much the only thing you could actually use them for is for the shape itself. And so to figure out a way to bring more dimension to that piece, I was really excited. But it takes me maybe 20 minutes to put one butterfly leaf on each of these. I have two bushes. I have enough parts to make maybe 5, but I only have 2 because they took so long. But
that's a real labor of love, those pieces.
But they will last forever. They are so stuck that way. So there are some things when you make them that you have to know the piece is committed to it. So this is one of them. So I'm sorry, go put that back. We'll just lay it there. Do you have any specific questions about this?
So one thing that also catches your eye, you've got all the plant pieces, which are really great, but also your rock formations just in the back really add a lot to it, and the way that you're able to create shapes and everything with that. So how do you incorporate that with kind of all of the leaf structures?
I'm glad you noticed that because that was something that was part of the intent when I started this whole thing. And I started out actually with the shapes themselves and built the landscape around it. And each of the windows are either designed to have something sit inside it or to just be a shape itself. I wanted it to be a question of whether this was natural or carved out of natural or decaying natural or structurally made. I wanted it to be questionable on that. And so every window space, we'll just call them windows, I have behind me like a platform so I can build things up because I wanted things to be seen through it. And it actually looks pretty good from the back side too, because you can see the other things going through it as well. But it was a lot of work. I had to build things up sometimes in the back to get the plants to show right, change scales of things a little bit. Like I really thought the vines would look great behind, but it ended up that getting the glowing pieces to match up with windows looked too forced. So going back to little things and having spots of color coming through it. And then some of them have pieces. I don't know if you can see that window. I actually put neon blocks in some of the windows themselves so it would look like they had a luminous light coming through them. But I love curved pieces. Anything you ever see with me will have those curved slopes. And this is an abundance of the curved slopes for sure. And then all my windows, not a single window actually has a fully square effect. There's either something coming off the side that's going to make it round or something inside it that's going to make it round. Because I wanted to either look like things drifted and petrified, whatever. But that's a really important organic part of this. And that's where the most change is. It's not with the plants, it's actually with that background building. So. Yeah.
Exactly. So you're able to capture that so well. So when you're working on a build like this at home, do you have like the blacklight tent set up or a blacklight to see how the different pieces look under that?
In my work studio, I actually have 2 of the tubular neon lights above my space. And so always before Brickworld, I'm staying up really late because the ambient light, even though I'm in my basement, until it gets dark, I can't always see things fully. So I pretty much work from like 4 p.m. through to 4 a.m. Yeah, so I could go back and forth between the lights. So that is really the key to what I'm doing, is to make sure that I'm looking at it under the black light. Once I know what colors I'm working with, I don't have to do it that way, but by then I'm always on that time schedule. So by the time, it's always hard to get back off of it. But yeah, it's like by the time I don't have to do it because I know how everything is going to work, it's gone. I'm on that schedule. But the other thing, if you notice, I didn't have a lot of the glow in the dark of the spiny things. So some of the pieces kind of have a dark, don't show up. And so picking where am I going to put the pieces that have glow in the dark, where I'm going to put the pieces that don't, is basically I decided to just, where do I want to draw attention? Or where do I want to highlight a spot that kind of would pass away? So that was, sometimes it's really a limitation of what I have available to me. And that was one of the things. And I think if I had too many glow-in-the-dark spines, it would just have been too much anyway, because the spines are so much brighter than the alien bodies. And so that really kind of helped as opposed to hindered what I was doing over here. Because often I don't like to have a plant that doesn't have all the same parts as the other plant. And I was okay with that. You know,
switch it up a little bit.
Sometimes I break my own rules.
But another interesting part of this particular layout is I believe you went kind of modular with it. So talk about kind of how that design process worked for this and how that works.
So this piece actually, and I'm going to go ahead and push this apart, I made it straight first. So actually all my sections with buildings will come together and form a perfect straight line. And then I created wedges in them to make it round. The only reason it looks round is because I have a wedge piece in there. And there's a couple reasons I wanted to do that. One, I wanted to have it round within the booth because I think it's more interesting. But I also wanted to have pieces that, like my local library could display, because they don't necessarily have the ability to do a big piece. But they could take one of the small sections. They could do it with the water in front of it or without it, depending on how narrow their shelves are. I wanted this piece to be really flexible for people. I don't like to be inaccessible, and so trying to use pieces that other people can do. I like using the specialized pieces. I'll still do that are hard to find, but I also want to use things that people can do. And so I've been carrying these flowers around so I can show everybody you can make flowers just like me. All you need, I mean, even if you just have the simplest pieces, you could do it. So this is the plate with the clip. I have the new whole thing. And you don't have to have the little clippy pieces I have. If you have something with a post, you could stick it in there and you can get almost the exact same effect. You don't even have to have those. I mean, without it, this piece is cool. Yeah. And you could switch out the colors. You could put a cone in. You could put a stack. And you could make a flower. And it's been really fun to show people this today and have them look at it and go, oh, I'm happy for you to pay me to make you a flower. But if you want to make your own flower, it's this simple. So find something with holes, find something with clips, find something with a post, and you can do it. So
No, I love that. I think that's a great way to get people, interested in building in different ways. And then your modular idea is fantastic as well. I think being flexible, just for anyone bringing builds to a show, it's always a good idea to be flexible because you never know what the table setup might be like and that sort of thing. And just being able to switch pieces in and out is really good.
And that's been the theme of this show. If you've walked around, there have been so many people around the show who either ended up in a pile up on the way here, the airplane dropped their stuff, whatever. And we've had a lot of people flexing in and out, and my stuff has been moved back and forth. And yeah, being flexible has been really fun. It's part of being a team to be able to say, yeah, I can put this in another place. I can do something different with it. And I think that's great because I always like being part of the collaborative process as well. So even though this right now is all by itself, it could easily go somewhere else next to somebody. It could go in a modular build. It's actually modular width, these sections here. So this is double modular, and then the two ends are single modular. And then the small modular pieces are built completely together with the building on it, but on the longer one, because again, traveling is difficult, those building pieces actually can lift off. I take them off, and I have two plates, and the buildings lift off. So really making it so that, and it didn't fall apart at all. And this was one of the boxes that my husband dropped when we got here. And I didn't really lose anything. I take most of the plants off and put them in another container. And, sometimes the little flowers pop off and put them together. But pretty much it holds together really well. So, but yeah, it's the more I build, and I know my stuff is delicate, but when I say amazingly stable, I'm really working on things that fall apart the least. So
that's a good goal. I love it. Well, this is such fantastic work, Barbara. Your work always blows me away. I love checking it out. So thank you so much for talking with me about it here.
Yeah, thanks for coming. I enjoy sharing with you and anybody else. So
thank you.